Welcome back to Shop Quinky, where makers and content creators come together. My name is Moxie Rose. I am a sex and kink educator, and I am the spokesperson for Shop Quinky. And I recently got the opportunity to sit down with Manda from Darque Path. Darque Path is not only an industry leader when it comes to handmade silicone fantasy-based toys, they also are known for their wax play candles. One of them being the lowest melting temperature of any wax play candle in Australia, where they are from. Let's meet the maker.
Well, hello. I'm Moxie. Nice to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited that you're the first person to do this. So, Darque Path. Your name is Manda. Are you the sole proprietor of Darque Path? Is Darque Path just you?
We've got me and hubby. His name's Troy. He is floating around over in the background over there. But at the moment, it's just us, and I do have a friend that comes in twice a week to help me get orders wrapped and stuff like that, so they get out the door.
Perfect. So, for those that have not heard of you before and are just going to get exposed to you for the first time during this, what is Darque Path? What do you guys make? What are you known for?
So, Darque Path, we are based in Australia on the south coast. We make, I like to call it spicy functional art.
I like that. I like that.
Spicy functional art. So we make silicone sex toys and like a whole range of stuff. Our motto is made for anybody with anybody. So we do things for grinders, we do things that are insertable or penetrable, for trans people who might have a bit of bottom growth and stuff, so it can really empower them to feel their new body. We also do wax play candles in 3 different temperatures and stuff.
So what I have seen from Darque Path when I go poking around in your stuff is a lot of heavy on the fantasy based stuff. Is that kind of where you like to reside?
Yeah, so I like to sit in a space where things don't necessarily look like a real penis, I guess.
Yeah.
Like if we can have alternative options, we can have things that can be displayed. So if somebody doesn't know, they don't know. It can also be a little bit more kid safe. If you have kids in the household and you happen to have something that sits on the bedside table and then someone walks in and it's like, oh,
Yep.
that's just a cauldron. That's not,
Yeah,
you know.
it's just a tentacle. It's just yeah. I can tell you one of the things that I always find really interesting about the fantasy stuff that not a lot of people think of is it's very helpful for the people that are recovering from and rediscovering sexuality from, post assault. Because a lot of people want that feel of that penetration, but it's incredibly, triggering and alarming to look at something that is very traditionally phallic looking, very much looks anatomically like a penis. And this kind of allows them to have that. So I kind of love that. So your background, you have a background that actually intersects with sexual health. So tell me a little bit about your background and how your background becomes Darque Path.
I did a lot of nursing, and then I had to back out of that for the sake of my son, who was a baby at the time. I jumped over to psych, and I went, you know what, this isn't exactly where I wanted to land, so I finished up my psych, and then I went and did a Master's of Medicine and Science in Sexual and Reproductive Health. My plan was that I was going to be opening my own private practice. Particularly wanted to lean into sort of the different relationships in kink space. Me and hubby have been a part of the kink community in our area for 12 years. So really kind of wanted to lean a little bit more towards that direction. And then we were sitting on our lounge one night and we were discussing our candles because all the temperatures and things that we'd found to use for wax play were too high for me. I needed something a lot lower, and my skin's really sensitive, so I needed to know exactly what was in them or my skin would react. So we were playing around with candles. We developed the lowest wax play candles that exist in Australia at the moment. And I've gone, oh, there's this, if I could get Procreate or if I could get an iPad, babe, please, then I could maybe try and play around and I could make some designs and stuff. How fun would that be? And then it was took us about a year of just playing around with things, researching things, testing out ideas, seeing what worked and how it worked and looking things up. And then we decided we'll launch Darque Path. And it was probably about 8 months. It was still a bit of a baptism of fire. It was still because of the way we were doing our molds. There was like a side seam that I wasn't really happy with, and it wasn't as good as what it is now.
Yeah.
But I had to go through that, and I've had my ass chewed out a couple of times because there was some quality issues. But I'm glad that it happened, because each time, those I think it was 3 times in those first 6 to 8 months, each time that happened, I've gone, right, I need to fix this.
Took it as a learning opportunity.
Yeah, it taught me like how to get around and how to do things better, and then now we're here where we are today doing things like Persephone.
So from the time you started Darque Path, was the intention always to like, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to turn this into a business?
Nope.
Nope. You're just seeing how, if you could do it.
We're just saying it was just gonna be fun. Because I was actually working in child protection at the time. My boss knew. I let her know because they had to know. They have like rules about not working 2 jobs and overexerting yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she knew, and we would chat about it every time during our like monthly little supervision meetings and stuff. And yeah, it kind of just got to a point, because I do 99% of the silicone stuff and Troy does the candles. The silicone stuff got to a point where me doing it until 3:00 in the morning in my garage, like trying to sort stuff out, was just not doable for me anymore.
Yeah.
Darque Path was going to sustain a wage. So I went in to see my boss, and she's like, the time's come, hasn't it? And I'm like, yeah, it's come.
I love that level of support. So just to put it in a timeline, what year are we at where you finally just go, okay, we're turning this into a full-fledged business?
It was, double check me, Troy. I'm talking to Troy because he's over there behind me. So we started in October of 2020, and 22, was it? No, I thought it was 21. It was. Oh, I'm right. He admitted it. Yeah. Yeah.
And we have it on recording. We
have it on recording. I'm right. It was, I think, about March-ish in 21, I believe. Somewhere around there.
Once you start this into a full business, this is now self-sustaining. It is now Darque Path, the business. What was the moment, if you had one, what is the moment that you kind of had this like, oh my God, this is what I do for work. This is my job. This is a business.
I think it was when we moved from home and got our own first little like workshop space. That was probably the real like tick over moment. We went from my dining table to having to clear out the garage and sanitize everything there to going, okay, we can put stuff back in the garage now.
We can actually have our garage back.
We actually have to move somewhere else, and to be like, hey, like I've got to go to work.
When you started this as a business, how many products were you like making and shipping out? And where does that compare to like what you're doing today?
In the first, say, 6 months of DP, we were doing maybe 4 orders a week if we were lucky. And then now we ship anywhere between 70 and 110.
And you ship worldwide pretty much.
Everywhere, yeah.
What is the biggest influence to you as a business, both like personally and just like what you strive to be as a business, but also like in your design work? What do you consider a big influence for you?
Probably the biggest influence is if something doesn't exist or something exists but it's shit, I'm going to make it better, period. Or if there's gaps and stuff, like with Cephaly, which is our penetrable, but it's designed for people with bottom growth. Yes, there was some that existed within like the toy community already, but because we were lucky enough by the stage where we actually released Cephaly, we had a lot of like Gen Pop people that knew about us. So I've gone, cool, this is my chance to actually get something like this and show Gen Pop and go like, gift. And once they know it exists, then they can go hunt and see all of the other options and stuff that are there. But it's like I just needed to get that into the world.
See a need, fill a need.
Yeah. Or friends have gone, hey, could you do something that looks like this and does this and all of that jazz? And I'm like, yes.
Let me have a moment and then I'll get to it. When it comes to the business, either just from, the business side of things, the admin side of things, or just the business just being what it is, being kind of an adult oriented business, a kinky oriented business. What are some of the biggest hurdles that you consider big hurdles? Because I know everybody's a little different on what they would consider like a roadblock. So what are the biggest challenges as a business in this industry, in this world that you have gone up against?
In general, as a business,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think myself and a lot of other people consider the admin that goes into things. Like, it's not just, oh yeah, I get to sit down and play with pretty colors and do that, and that's all I do. It's like, no, I'm pulling 80, 100-hour weeks. But then on an adult industry side of things, prejudice across the board. There's simple things like payment processors. A lot of payment processors don't want to touch anything that is remotely adult-based. Banking itself, like here in Australia, can get pretty tricky as well. Like when we sort of were expanding really quickly and it's like, all right, well, we need to get a bigger place. Like we need some funds to help us do this. Our bank that we've been banking with for 2 years turned around and went, you're adult industry, we can't help. And I'm like, you've literally had all our cash for our business for 2 years in that same account. And then there's the marketing on top of that. That's ridiculously hard. Trying to be careful. Like, again, coming from a child protection background, I do want to be careful in what I put out, which is why I only put out certain designs in social media for that reason. So if someone is going to stumble across it, then it's going to be a little bit more PG for them.
Yeah. They don't know what they don't know kind of thing.
That's it. Trying to like get around a little bit that way, trying to use hashtags properly so it doesn't fall into a category where a kid is going to be.
Right.
Stuff like that. Yeah, marketing is really hard.
So marketing being like this big struggle for you. That and it's not just you. It is the businesses in general, have even those outside of the adult industry. Just, marketing is just a hard one for people to do. There are so many roadblocks around certain things, and that's before you even get into it being anything of like a spicy or adult nature. This is where this kind of intersects with me, with Shop Quinky. So how did you first hear about Shop Quinky?
I think it was either yours or Mr. Pierre's video. It was one of them that sort of came up. And I think it was Mr. Pierre actually, because it was. Okay. Yeah, because then I've messaged him on TikTok and gone, right, what is this? Give me goss. Tell me about things so that I could kind of like suss it out. Because even though you know someone is great, you still want to like do diligence and just suss things out.
Oh, yeah.
And then so I sussed it a bit out and I'm like, yeah, like let's do this. Like count me in.
So what was the thing that you went from like, okay, give me more information. I just, I want to hear what this is, to, okay, I'm on board. Let's do this.
I think for me, it was having like that community building aspect of it. But yeah, it was the idea of then going, okay, so we can also have content creators and all that sort of coming in where it can be cross-connected and everything can come together that way. I'm like, that is brilliant. That builds a community. That's where the magic happens, Yeah. And there's a community there.
Yeah, and it is. This community is very much used to being ostracized, that like, you tend to find people try to help each other because they know, either as a personal practitioner or a business, like you just know what it feels like to be kind of othered and pushed to the outside. And I feel like that's also where businesses like yours really shine when it comes to the like no-brainer acceptance of the trans community. Like it never even occurred to not get on board with like, okay, how do we make products that are accessible for everybody? And I mean everybody. So like I really kind of appreciate that about this community, but also that you are very outspoken about that you're very loud about like, we make products for everybody. We make products for everybody, and that is who we are. So it's from from somebody that educates in that world. That's major props to you guys. What part of Shop Quinky, other than like that you really like this community centric part of it? What is the thing about the actual launch of Shop Quinky? Like when this is up and going and it is now like a full-fledged thing, what is the thing that you personally are most excited about when it comes to this?
I'm looking forward to the collaboration with content creators. That's not something that I've done a great deal of. I love the idea of actually having people that really do want to collaborate in that way, and they want to be open to that experience to be able to do that together,
When it comes to like other makers, either specific to like the stuff that you make, like the silicone products, wax candles, or just general like jewelry, that harnesses, things that you don't necessarily make. I think a lot of businesses struggle with like pulling the trigger on becoming a business. Like they're still stuck in that, like, I'm making things, it's a couple of them, it's more for like friends and a few orders. I don't know if I'm ready to just full blown make this a thing. What is your advice to those people who are kind of sitting on that fence? What is the thing that you would tell them?
I would tell them, do not quit your day job yet. Do not leave the job that pays your bills yet.
Yeah.
Like, very much so, plan for that. 100%. Business plan the shit out of that. But in the short term, like, get your social media happening. Get comfortable with posting super regularly, because that's what the algorithms all want. Yeah. Get really comfortable with using the back end of a website, or preferably Quinky.
Yeah, there you go.
Preferably. Try out doing a few things customized. Try out doing a few things as a stock drop. See which direction you prefer, or a combination of both. Try out some markets. Do all that type of thing. See what want there is for your items. If the want grows big enough and you manage to grow it that big enough, once you get to a point where you go, okay, I'm actually routinely getting enough cash flow through this now that it could replace my regular income, then bounce.
Make it a goal that you build towards.
Yeah,
I love
make
that.
sure
I
it's
think
gonna
that's great
work.
advice. Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. It leaves you a little room for error, because no business is going to flawlessly execute their big coming out. Like, that's just not how it goes. But you have very much successfully done this. So now that you're in the part of the story where you did make it a business plan. You have been able to quit your day job, so to speak, and this is your day job now. So for you guys, for Darque Path, what is the next goal? Because now you're already into that part of it. So what is your next goal?
So definitely part of it is maintaining. And that's the scary part. Enough to be able to maintain your income, right? And then also I have ADHD, so I just keep doing new things.
Always a project, always a new project. Yep.
Always. So like we've got our event space, which has been open for 2 years now, Knock Day. That's a kink event space, and we run monthly events there. We've got KinkCon, which is going to be like Australia's second biggest kinky market. And we've got Darkling, which we're working on products now. And then we're going to launch Darkling probably by KinkCon market. So,
all right, tell me about Darkling.
So Darkling is a little bit of a crossover to Darque Path, but kind of not, hence Darkling. It is like kinky based jewelry. So a necklace would has owned lasered onto it.
I love that, because it overlaps enough with like you're in the same industry, just adjacent enough that I and it's still fitting in the like that you could have pre-made, like, here are some big ones that we know people will buy, here's some custom things. Do you tend to, is your within the market that you're in now with just the candles and the silicone, do you find that you do more orders on just the stuff that you already have like made, or do you find that you get more orders on custom made?
The candles are always, I guess, made to order. So it's like a
Okay.
2-3 week turnaround. But in terms of silicone, definitely custom stuff. And I think that's going to cross over a bit to darkling as well. Because we're doing like silicone floggers and silicone dragon tails and silicone thumpers and all that type of jazz, so that they're all body safe, right? They don't have to be like fluid bonded to anybody.
So speaking of body safety, so
Mhm.
you're a big loud voice about the body safety of products. And from one kinkster for another to another, we kind of know that like it's risk mitigation is a huge part of this. We'd love for people to flawlessly execute everything as safely as they possibly can, but that
It's just not
whole
possible.
no, it's just not. There's a reason that we have, don't try it at home on everything that you see, because we just know that people are going to people, and it comes down to giving people the best information they can and doing risk mitigation beyond that. So what is one of the biggest, let me set the record straight?
Wash your damn toys.
Wash your damn toys.
Wash them. Again, like it doesn't have to be anything special. And I say this as, yes, we sell toy cleaner, but you don't have to buy that.
Right.
Like you can get just like a decent body wash from the stuff you use in your shower even, and give it a really good wash down, give it a really good rinse to make sure it's off, let it air dry. Like it doesn't have to be anything specific, because I think sometimes that people go, oh, well, I don't really want to do too much of this because I can't afford the expensive toy cleaner. No.
No.
Use what you've got, as long as you rinse it off properly and the toy is decent quality. It's not porous or anything like that. It's not going to hold any of that inside the toy at all. Just clean it.
You almost had to like pull up the fancy toy soap and like look at the ingredients and compare it to like hand soap and be like, look, it's the same thing. Like, slight exceptions and like slight differences, that it's the same thing. And the other one that I hear all the time is the like, well, I need to get, toys that I can boil. And it's like, all right, I get where you're going. Boiling is like, when it jumps to your head, is like, this is a great way to sanitize things, is to boil it. But I'm like, you washed your hands before you ate. They're like, yeah. I said, did you wash your hands in boiling water? Like, no. I'm like, well, then what? Why was it good enough for that, but not for the? And I think that's do you ever find that people kind of are like, are your products safe to boil? And you have to be like, look, you don't need to do all of this.
I turn around to people and go, you can chuck it in boiling water, because silicone is safe up to like 200 and something degrees C, which is
it's like damn
Fahrenheit.
near indestructible. Yeah.
Like you'll be buried with it. Every once in a while, particularly if you're using the toy anally and stuff, then chuck it in and boil it. If that's something that makes you feel amazingly better, awesome.
The adult industry, especially when you get into like, big box stores that are just kind of pushing a lot of drop ship stuff, mass produce things, that there's a lot of good information that really doesn't get out to people who are shopping in the store, because there's a disconnect. And unless the people selling it, have that background or take it really personally and take it upon themselves to just research the shit out of everything, you really don't have people kind of talking about this. And it can get confusing, because you will see things like a product that is, claims to be silicone, and then there's ones that are platinum cured silicone, and you're looking going, what is the difference between those two? So when somebody asks, like, you make silicone products, what is the type of silicone?
So it will, for us and a lot of the indie toy community, it is platinum cure silicone. So in terms of like sciencey for a second, it means that the catalytic agent in that silicone is literal platinum. That's what kicks off the reaction. Whereas in other silicones, what's got me think? Tin. Yeah, it's tin cure silicone. So like regular food safe silicone and things like that, it's tin. that is the catalytic agent. Platinum itself, once the process is done, it becomes inert. So on a atomic level, it can't keep doing anything.
Yeah.
But with tin cure, it never becomes inert. So that's why you'll see if two tin cure toys touch each other, you'll get the melty lines. Even if you put a platinum cure toy on top of a tin cure toy, the tin cure toy will have the melty marks because it's trying to react with the platinum cure, and the platinum cure is just like, no, go away. And there's nothing wrong with the platinum cure at all. It'll stay exactly the same.
People love the science-y stuff because this is, I think people are really hungry for that kind of knowledge. And it's not until the subject even comes up that a lot of people even realize how much that they want to know more about it. Cause somebody will say something like that and they go, wait a minute, what do you mean? And then they keep going farther and farther into those questions. I think it also helps kind of humanize the industry, that this isn't some like looming dark thing. Like this is people that care about your body. This is people that care about safety and about making good products that are doing everything they can down to a scientific level to make sure that happens for you, which is not even something that we can say for huge major industries right now, not even, just in the adult industry. What's the thing about making these products or working in this industry that you were most surprised by?
I was surprised that it wasn't just all, okay, it's a penis, it looks like a penis, here's a penis, or, oh, look, it's a dragon's penis, like, or, the other shapes and stuff that we typically see. There was a hell of a lot of variation. Do I like to think that we've expanded on that variation? 100%. It was really good to see that it's not just these standardized options. And I kind of wish that more people like Gen Pop knew that that's a thing, because they always look at fantasy toys and go, oh, well, it's this big and this round and it's the size of my child's head and it's got scales and spikes. And yes, some of them do.
Yeah.
But not all of them do.
One of the things that I came across that, like, as I got to know more products that were very fantasy based, I had a lot of fun kind of exposing people to the idea that this doesn't necessarily have to be like I'm into the fantasy part of this. Like, I want to experience what this feels like from a dragon, from a tentacle, that you could just get the tentacle because that had so much texture to it. This was an amount of texture that can bring a lot of people a lot of really fun pleasure that they would never have experienced had they not just jumped and gone, okay, all right, I'll buy a fantasy one. On that note, what is your favorite product?
Because my personal favorites and the things that I love to make are probably two very opposite ends of the spectrum.
Perfect. So tell me both.
So my personal favorites, I like NYX. I like Neath is another one that I like because it's got the upwards curve on it. I do like Poseidon as well. That's on my personal end. But on the opposite end of the things that I love them, but I hate them. My favorite to make, I love our hand-painted stuff like Persephone and all of that jazz. But when it fails, it's hours worth of work.
Oh, no.
Gone. But when it doesn't fail, it's beautiful.
And you say hand-painted. Tell me about the materials that you're using with this. Because I know that'll be something that people hear and just sticks out as like, wait a minute, what do you mean hand painted? God, that's so pretty. That's so pretty.
It's a bit dusty at the moment and my lighting's not fantastic.
and in spite of all of that, look how pretty it looks.
Hand painting is actually done with silicone in the negative. So you'll have the mold, which for Persephone is like that.
Yeah.
And then using the silicone in its individual colors, I literally go in with a paintbrush or like the tip of a chopstick or whatever it happens to be, or the tip of a skewer most often because the small detail, and I will literally paint into the mold with the silicone and then backfill. So for example, like the little flowers, all of this that's different colors, that's all done individually. And then the skull is the backfill. So once that's all done, I will then fill it with the white and then top it off with the green for the backing.
The vacuum chambers that a lot of silicone makers use.
I hope all of them are.
I was going to say. And so tell me a little bit about that, because a lot of people listening are not necessarily makers. These are content creators who are just finding you. These are shoppers who are just finding you. So they tend to hear these things talked about or sometimes not talked about, even though it's happening. They just behind the scenes. So tell me a little bit about what that is and the importance of it when it comes to making your product.
When we mix our silicone is a part A, part B system. So when you mix them together and you put your pigments and stuff in, you're mixing, you're agitating, you're adding air, right? And silicone in itself will already have air because everything has air in it. Once everything's all mixed in, we will pop those in the containers into the vacuum chamber and we pull a full vacuum onto that. So it's actually drawing all of that air out of the silicone. It looks like it's boiling, which is why it's often called cold boiling, because there's no heat or anything related to it. So it's drawing all of the bubbles and stuff out of that silicone so that when you do pour it, like there may be a couple that catch as you're like scraping bottoms of containers and things, but they tend to be bigger in size. So they'll out by themselves, no worries. Or they'll pop in the method that you're pouring it. So a shorter stream, a tighter stream, it doesn't allow the air bubble to maintain its membrane, so it pops. Where was I going? ADHD, because I went on a science thread for a second.
I'm loving it. I'm like so following you on this science path.
So we degas, we cold boil all of that air out so that when we do pour it, we don't have pockets of air or anything inside of the silicone. We don't have pockets of air. They're going to sit between the silicone and the silicone mold itself. We're not going to have tiny little pinpoints that are all over it, which will then hold bacteria and things. I actually did a really interesting, it was like 4 or 5 part series that I've got linked on my TikTok about why we vacuum degas. And I did 2 identical toys. One I vacuumed, one I did not at all. And then went through the process of going, okay, so I'm going to cover both of these in pigment and I'm going to give them a really quick wash. And you can see under the UV light, because I used a UV pigment, the difference between all of the little micro bubbles and pores, making that unvacuumed toy now porous. That's where bacteria is going to sit. And I've given it a quick wash and it hasn't come out. I've scrubbed harder, it hasn't come out. I then cut the 2 toys in half to actually show the insides of what it looks like when it's not vacuum degassed and when it is. And some of that UV pigment was all the way down to the center.
I love that, this is stuff that you already know just from your background, and you kind of, it makes this this respect towards what you do kind of come into that, because you are striving to not only make a great product, you are trying to make a body safe product. And you take that very personally because of your background. And those of us that are on the outside looking in at your company, we see it. We at 100% see it. You guys are some of my favorites to recommend to people, because if I knew nothing else about what was going on with your products, I know that they can be trusted. I know that they're body safe, and that if somebody had a question, that you are able to go, let me help you with this. Let me explain this. Here's what this is. Here's what this is. And I really love that about those products. And that is something that, with the marketing that comes in with Shop Quinky, that's really good information for, especially like with the Quinky Discord, that those are conversations that people can actually have. To close all of this out, because I think you were the one that suggested this question, and I kind of absolutely loved it. You suggested it as an icebreaker, but we obviously did not have a problem with that. So I really loved this, though, is kinky pet peeves.
Fake DOMs.
Ooh, yeah.
I enjoy that, though.
Because you like knocking them down a peg. Yeah, same.
Yeah. On a business level, I really hate like the people that just leave ridiculous, stupid comments. And it's not like it's uninformed or anything like that. It's just nasty.
And you can tell questions or comments that are made in bad faith and ones that are made in good faith, but out of a place of sheer ignorance. And those are the people that
100%.
I'm willing to meet you where you're at, because that's what I'm interested in, is educating people. But those of you that like, you make those comments like that, like you were never here for the education anyway. So I may as well just take this opportunity to educate everybody else listening to this.
Yeah.
Manda, before we go, please tell everybody where they can find you. Where are, Darque Path, we're going to have you on Shop Quinky, and you're on the Shop Quinky Discord. Where else can they find you?
We've got our own website, which is DarquePath, DarquePath.com.au. Either direction will send you to us. We've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, which is darque.path. We've got Blue Sky, TikTok as well, but that's a fickle beast, so.
Don't I know it?
Yeah, so Instagram and Twitter are usually probably the easiest spots, and that's usually where I get to be able to interact with most, I guess.
I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this, because I know that you very obviously busy life, and it's, the time zone difference between us is just about as far apart as we could possibly get. I think it's morning time for you on Friday over there. It's Thursday evening for me. I really appreciate you guys kind of carving out this time for us, and and being supporters of ours. You threw your weight behind us in a really big way, and you were a really big name for us to get, because you are recognizable in the community and you're well respected in the community. And it is very obvious when you talk to anybody that's ever gone on your social media, shopped with you. It's very obvious how well respected you guys are as a business in this community.
Darque Path to me will always be my little baby. It's always going to be my kitchen table covered in all of the four molds that we had at the time.
Yeah.
And, like breaking plastic knives as I'm stirring because it's too much silicone to stir, but that's all I could afford at the time.
Really, thank you so much, because I am a big fan of Darque Path. I've been a big fan of Darque Path for a long time, since I discovered you guys on TikTok, and I am so excited to be working with you. So I really appreciate everything you guys have done as a business, as a community, and I'm very excited to see where you guys go and see how we can, be a part of that growth.
How we can bring it into Quinky.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
That's right. Thank you so much for having us, and hopefully the rest of your evening is nice and peaceful and calm and quiet.
Thank you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yes.